Hello everyone, if you are watching one of my videos for the very first time, my name is Adrienne and I am a former public school teacher turned homeschool mom. This month's videos are all about the theme of being prepared because it's always better to be prepared, right? This first week's video I'm calling Be Aware. Yes, homeschooling is amazing. Yes, I believe everyone can homeschool, but there are some things that you need to take into consideration just to know and just to be aware. So it is legal to homeschool in every single state in the United States. Praise the Lord. There is a documentary that was released last year, maybe. It's called Schoolhouse Rocked. It was promoted by Kirk Cameron, and they interview lots and lots of people, and they talk about homeschooling, kind of how it's evolved. They interview people who were homeschooling back before it was popular, who were threatened by school officials, even government officials before it was legal. So it kind of gave me a bit of perspective as far as homeschooling and just to be thankful that it is legal now. I'm going to drop a link in the comments or the description where I found an article that has all the states broken down by certain things that they require as far as homeschooling. Each state kind of has its own laws and requirements. They may ask for things such as keeping some kind of record of attendance. Sometimes the states will require your child to do state testing even when they're homeschooled. Sometimes they even spell out which subjects you have to cover, like reading, math, spelling, all those things. Sometimes they have required forms that you have to submit, like an intent to homeschool kind of form, just to make it documentation wise. There's other documents I saw on the list that were required for homeschool families to meet the criteria. And then some states even require you to meet with school officials and go over your curriculum and other things that you're doing. That's probably the most work as far as proving what you're doing is beneficial. Sometimes you have to even give your school a name so you can register it in their system. So from what I was reading over, and I'll put this link in the comments or the description, Idaho, Indiana, Texas, and Oklahoma seem to be the most relaxed and have the least requirements for parents who are homeschooling to prove to the state what they are doing or submitting any kind of documents, required testing. They're very much up to the parent. So state testing is available, but it is optional. It's not mandated or required in any of those states that I listed. And not every state requires state testing. That was just across the board, very minimal documentation and things required in those states. In Louisiana, another example I found, you have to apply to homeschool and it has to be approved each year. So that's something to keep in mind if you live in that state. And then if you homeschool on the road, a lot of people love the freedom and flexibility of homeschooling, so they do sometimes take it on the road in like a camper or even like a tiny house. You have to abide by the laws that your driver's license, the state that you have your driver's license in. So if your state requires a specific documentation or state testing or whatever, you have to abide by those laws and regulations and according to your driver's license. If you're car schooling is what some people refer to that. So those are just some things to make yourself aware of. Make sure you know your state's laws and requirements for homeschooling so you can be prepared and you can be aware of what's required of you, and you're not in a situation that might be uncomfortable for other people. I've heard of some pretty scary stories of certain government agencies being called because people are concerned that things aren't happening. So just make sure you're not in a situation that could have been avoided, right? If you know what's required, then you can make sure that you do those things so that you can continue to homeschool and there will be no big bumps along the way as far as laws and regulations are concerned.